What is up, bros and broettes? I'm Inkslasher, and welcome to another episode of Versus. If you don't know what Versus is, it's a series where we take two weapons, or sometimes other things, put them head to head to see which one is better, and make you a better Call of Duty player. The two weapons we're looking at today are the KVK 99m, which is the brand new weapon in Black Ops 3. It's basically a remake of the KN-44 from Black Ops 2. Now, I've heard many things and many people saying that this weapon is overpowered, and today we're going to come to that decision by comparing it against the KN-44. The question is, why are we comparing it against the KN-44? And there are many reasons. The first of which is these two weapons are extremely similar. They look similar, they sound similar. The sound of the KVK 99m almost sounds like if you took the sound from the KN-44 and combined it with the sound of the Shiva, put them together, that's exactly what the KN-94 sounds like. On top of that, they have very similar recoil patterns, and on top of that, when Black Ops 3 originally came out, a lot of people thought that the KN-44 was actually a remake of the KN-94 from Black Ops 2, when in fact, the actual remake of the KN-94 is this DLC weapon here, the KVK 99m. So without further ado, let's get into it and compare these two weapons. So as always, let's start off by looking at the damage profile of these two weapons. To start off, the KVK is 35 damage up close, 29 at mid-range, and 22 at long range, whereas the KN-44 is 40 damage up close, 30 at mid-range, and 29 at long range. What this means is that the KN-44 is going to be a 3 to a 4 bullet kill, whereas the KVK is going to be a 3 to a 5 bullet kill. And that's a pretty big difference. So for that, since the KN-44 never drops off to a 5 bullet kill, the KN-44 is going to get plus 1 point. However, the damage profile isn't all bad for the KVK. Even though it does drop off to a 5 bullet kill, one positive for this weapon is that it actually has a longer 3 bullet kill range. The KN-44 has a 3 bullet kill range of 17.5 meters, whereas the KVK has a 3 bullet kill range of 21.25 meters. So because of that little bit longer of a 3 bullet kill range, we're going to give plus 1 point to the KVK. So where this gets really interesting is when we look at the fire rate for these two weapons. So for the KVK, its fire rate is 555 RPM, and for assault rifles in Black Ops 3, that's actually on the lower end of things. Comparatively to the KN-44, the KN-44 has a fire rate of 625 RPM. So obviously it's much faster than the KVK's, and for that we are going to give it plus 1 point. However, this is where the twist comes in, because the KVK has a very special feature where the first two bullets to come out of the weapon fire at 810 RPM, and this happens every time you take your finger off the trigger and put it back on. So by burst firing this weapon, you can fire the weapon at 810 RPM. However, I did some testing, and if you do this mid-gunfight, you're gonna lose gunfights. So really, this only takes effect for the first two bullets of a gunfight, because after those first two bullets, the fire rate drops down to 555 RPM like we talked about before. Now, I don't necessarily think that this is worth a full point. I don't think it's that great of a stat. However, it is better than the KN-44. So for the first time ever in the Versus series, I'm going to give the KVK a half a point. I've never done this before, but I think that's what it deserves for the first two bullets having a faster fire rate. So then now that we know the damage profile and the fire rate, we can now look at time to kill. So as far as the time to kill goes, the KN-44 is going to have a better time to kill at every range except for in between 17.5 meters and 21.25 meters. That is the only area where the KVK will have a faster time to kill. So obviously for that, the KN-44 is going to get plus 1 point. However, once again, there is a stipulation. And once again, it comes down to the fact that the first two bullets to come out of the KVK are going to fire at 810 RPM. And if you hit both of the first two bullets in a gunfight, it will have a faster time to kill than the KN-44 at every single range. So obviously this is much better, but again, there's that stipulation of both of the first two bullets have to hit. If they don't, then all of a sudden the KN-44 always has the better time to kill. So because of this, once again, it's a huge stipulation that you gotta hit the first two bullets. And I think that that's not worth the same as a definitive stat like a set fire rate or a set damage. So once again, for the exact same thing, we're going to give another half point to the KVK. So just looking at the stats we've looked at so far, there's a reason why a lot of people are saying the KVK seems overpowered, because occasionally it seems like you get absolutely melted by it, or if you're using it, feel like you absolutely melt someone. And those circumstances are the circumstances where both of the first two bullets hit. However, if both of those bullets don't hit, all of a sudden the KVK actually has a pretty slow time to kill because of its slower fire rate and not a massive damage profile. And because of this, the KVK ends up feeling rather inconsistent, and it's that inconsistency that's hard to get used to with this weapon. Now moving forward, both of these weapons have the exact same magazine size of 30 rounds. However, after this stat, things start to get pretty bad for the KVK. Looking at the reload speed, the KVK reloads with bullets still in the magazine at 2.5 seconds and no bullets in the magazine at 3.1 seconds, whereas the KN-44 reloads in 2.03 seconds with bullets still in the magazine and 2.8 seconds with an empty magazine, both of which are faster for the KN-44, and because of that, it gets plus 1 point. Also on top of that, this sprint out time, which is the amount of time it takes for you to go from sprinting to shooting, is slower for the KVK at 0.35 seconds, whereas the KN-44 is just 0.3 seconds. So once again, for that, the KN-44 gets plus 1 point. Similarly, for the aim down sights time, for the KVK, it's 0.35 seconds, whereas for the KN-44, it's 0.25 seconds, a whole 0.1 second slower for the KVK. So once again, the KN-44 gets plus 1 more point. And the last stat we have to look at for both of these weapons is the recoil on both of them. And I would say for both, they're both a medium recoil, but both are definitely very, very manageable. I think they're actually very similar recoil patterns, so I'm not going to give out any points for that. The other thing we could look at is the iron sights on both weapons. Personally, I enjoy the KN-44 iron sights just a little bit more, but once again, that comes down to personal preference, so I'm not going to give out any points for that. So looking at the final scores here, we can very clearly see that the KN-44 is the winner. But why? The main thing is, with the KVK, it's definitely a good weapon. By no means does this score reflect how good or how bad the KVK is, because it's still a good weapon, but it completely depends on whether or not you hit those first two bullets. Like I said, if you do hit those first two bullets, you're going to have a really fast time to kill. If you miss those first two bullets, you're going to have a really slow time to kill. So that is probably the most important thing with the KVK. As far as the other stats go, though, the aim down sights time for the KVK is 0.35 seconds, which is the slowest out of all of the assault rifles in Black Ops 3. So obviously a very bad stat there. And because of that, it's almost necessary that you use a quick draw grip, and that just takes up one of your creative class slots. And there's just many reasons why the KN-44 beats it. However, like I said, the KVK is definitely still a very good weapon. So to answer the original question that we asked at the beginning of this video, is the KVK overpowered? Definitely not. However, you are able to melt people with it, assuming you hit the first two bullets on target. And that's really all there is to say about the KVK. But let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Do you think the KVK should have been the winner? Do you like the KN-44 better? Let me know what you think down in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, it would be very, very greatly appreciated if you could hit that like button. Also, if you're new to the channel and like what you see, I upload new Call of Duty videos every single day of the week. So if that sounds interesting to you, that subscribe button is sitting there with your name on it. But guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace out.